White pizza is one of the greatest pizzas in the world. It's pretty decadent, and it's pretty easy to screw up for some reason because, I don't know, it's too simple. It requires a little bit of restraint in how you do this, but I have a great technique for this. I can show you exactly how to make this and give you exact instructions on how to do this. If you want to make a really great white pizza, you got to watch this video because that's it right there. So let's get started. So let's get started making our dough. As we know, pizza dough is super simple to make and totally foolproof. Can't screw it up. Okay, certain recipes you can, certain recipes you can't. This is one of the trickier ones right here. This is a thin crust, but it's kind of a New York style, kind of a universal dough here. But it's a 65% dough, if that means anything to you. If it doesn't, then you came to the right place because I'm going to explain that. So what we have is our bread flour right here. You can use 00 flour, but it has to be a high gluten flour to make this work because we're building a really nice crust on this thing. It's going to have the nice ring around it and everything. So we 65%. What does that mean? We have 150 grams of flour right here. This is a 12-inch pizza we're making, so 150 grams of bread flour and 97 grams of water. Yeah, actually 97 grams of water. It has to be. It's weird, but yeah, there you go. Okay, so what else do we have with this? We have sugar. We have a teaspoon of sugar, and we have, believe this or not, 2 teaspoons of salt. This is a saltier thing. It gives it a lot more flavor and a lot more crunch to it, and it's really, really yummy. We have about 1 tablespoon or 1 teaspoon, sorry. 1 teaspoon of instant yeast is enough for this. You can use a little bit more. It won't hurt anything. If you use less, it's going to take a lot longer to rise. So we're using a little bit more than that. So you can go a little bit over, but this is half a package of the yeast, the little packets that you buy, the thing. This is instant yeast, the rapid rise. Active yeast is different. Instant yeast can go straight in here with all the ingredients. You don't need to activate or anything else. Active yeast, you have to put it in the water with the sugar and everything and let it bloom and do all that stuff. That's a very different process. You can use either one, really. You can. Instant yeast is just easier. So if you're buying one, get the instant. There you go. For this recipe, it's perfect. And we have about a teaspoon of oil, olive oil for this, only olive oil. And we have a mixer with our paddle attachment on it. So we are going to turn this on real quick so you can see what's going on. We are going to make our dough here. We're going to start by putting all of our dry ingredients in together. I know that seems odd because salt and yeast don't mix, but trust me, it'll be fine. Okay, one of the other fun things is we can actually put the oil in at the very, very end. We're going to do an auto-lease on this to help build more gluten so we get a better structure and we get that really nice crust on the end, that nice ring around it. We're going to do that way. Now our water, we're going to turn this on real fast just to get all this stuff mixed up. And then we're going to dump our water in this thing. We're going to bring it together to a really, really shaggy dough. And then we're going to let it sit for 15-20 minutes. Standard pizza stuff. If you do not have a mixer, you can do this by hand. Just get a really, really big bowl and just start going at it. It is very possible to do. So don't be afraid if you don't have a mixer. They made pizzas for hundreds of years before they invented mixers. So it can be done, trust me. Okay, that is ready to go. We do not have to go in slowly. We are going in quickly with our water. And there we go. We've got all of our stuff. We can clean up a little bit. There we go. Now, if you're seeing this from here, what you're seeing is a really, really kind of a dry dough coming together. This will work. Trust me. It has to, right? This will take a minute. I will fast forward for you. Okay, we're just going to knock the dough off of the paddle here a little bit before we get any further, just to make sure we get everything nice and mixed. This could be wetter or drier as it sticks around the paddle. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's coming together as a perfect dough ball there. We are going to let this sit and rest before we put the oil in. That'll help the gluten build good structures inside here, and it will make for a much, much better pizza. So we have a damp towel here. I'm putting this around the bowl. We don't even need to take the bowl out of the mixer. We can just set this here 15 minutes. It's pretty standard with pizza making. Just let the dough rest and absorb and hydrate and do all its stuff it's going to do. And we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, it's been almost 20 minutes. So it is time to unveil our dough. Now it still looks pretty much the same. We're just going to hit this with a little bit. Oh, see, now it's coming apart a little bit more. That's how you know you did a good job and you let it rest long enough. It's starting to actually make a dough. We're going to put our oil in now at this point. This is really going to come together. There we go. There's our oil. And she's pretty much stuck there. So we're going to just kick this up a little bit. Let the centrifugal forces fling the dough off the paddle a little bit, and that'll help get this moving along. That's centrifugalated. I can't remember if it's centrifugal or centrifugal. One means inside and one's outside, so I'm not sure which one's which, to be honest with you. Okay, let's get this off of here. I'm doing this as far away from me as humanly possible because I want it to look really awkward. How am I doing? Nailing it? Yeah. You know me. There we go. Okay, now let's put our dough hook on here. That is just as easy as that is. We're going to put this back in and we're going to start kneading this dough a little bit. This is going to take a few minutes, so fast forward button. Okay, that is done kneading, I think, at this point. We're going to try to get this open and get this out. I'm going to pull this over here and let's see. See, it is just slightly sticky, but it's not sticking to my hands and I don't have any oil or flour on my hands. So that is about perfect right there. This looks like a really small dough because we're only making one 12-inch pizza. Normally, if you're going to do this and put this much effort into it, you're going to make a big one and then I got a little bit of stuck to the side. You're going to make a big dough ball like this and cut it in half and then save it in the freezer. If you do that, you have to wrap it really tight. You don't want the ice crystals forming on the outside of it. So that's basically where we're at right now. So there's the whole slap, twist, and slap, and twist, and turn, and slap it down. And I don't know what that does. I don't know what that's supposed to do. Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The one technique that does make sense to me, let me get rid of the mixer real quick so you can see this better. Okay, this is better. Now we can see. The one technique that I do really like for doing this, because you have to build certain amount of proteins. You have to fold this in and you have to stretch it out and fold it. And you got to stretch it out like this and then fold it. And if you keep doing this, it's going to get really, really tight as you do this. And if it gets a little grainy and iffy, just kind of roll it out a little bit. There you go. Kind of give it a little of this, a little of that. Bring it back. Stretch it out. It's tearing a little bit, which tells me it hasn't built enough things in there. And if it's doing this like this, what you really need to do is cover this with a damp towel and let this sit. It's not ready yet. Pizza will tell you. This is the art of pizza making. This is it right here. So we're going to take our damp towel and a piece of plastic wrap. Take our plastic wrap, put this over the top of this so we don't add too much more water to it. And then a damp towel, just because that's the closest towel I had. You could use a dry towel. I don't know. Yeah, I guess. But the damp towel is heavier. It's weighted down, and if there is any air movement in there, you're going to get the extra moisture, which is a good thing because you don't want this to form a skin. If it dries out, it'll form a skin. That's bad. I mean, at this point, it's bad. But let's let this sit for about 10 minutes, and then it'll be much happier. This is the art of pizza making. All right, it's been a couple of minutes. Let's check our dough. Hopefully, we don't need the towel anymore. Period. But yeah, okay, so this is looking a little bit better. And it's not sticking to the counter. That's a good sign. We've got a really good dough. This is a great mix right here. This is one of these great doughs. Oh, they're beautiful. Okay, so if we try, oh yeah, see, she stretches so much better now. We just kind of give her a tug, and at this, we go out. There we go. Just do this a few times. When you do this, seriously, you will feel this go from like loosey-goosey, like that. When it gets in, you're done. You're perfect. You've done it. You nailed it. You got your strength built into your dough. Now, let's form our ball. You want this really, really tight. So you can pinch the skin under, take your fingers and just kind of pinch under like this, and you're trying to roll it and get it as tight as possible. You want a really nice tight skin on this. This is critical. This is the art of pizza making. Right here, this is it. So if you take two hands, you get this little ball like this, and there you go. Boom. She's pretty as heck. Pinch the bottom, you get this little bit there, just pinch that together. You have a ball. Okay, what container does this go into? Nothing tall. It should be much, much wider than it is because this will already help form the pizza. So if we use a bowl like this and put a plastic wrap over the top, it'll be perfect. We're just gonna put a little oil in this so it doesn't stick to this, and it's gonna give it a little bit of protection from being completely naked, shall we say. You don't want a naked dough ball. We're going to put a little bit of oil on the outside to keep it from forming too much of a skin, just lightly. Honestly, super, super light. You can totally change the consistency of your dough at this point by putting too much of anything on it. We haven't put any extra flour on or anything else because our ratio is very specific. Pizza is as much science as it is art, and it's 100% each, which isn't good math. But I would say pizza doesn't need math, but it needs a lot of math. Yeah. Again, don't get intimidated. This is not hard. This is a fairly simple dough ball as long as you can measure this, as long as you have your scale and can measure the amounts to the gram. I mean, that's easy. Come on, don't abandon me, people. You can do this, promise. Okay, there. This is very, very loose. It really needs like a shower cap. And to be honest, those are perfect. What we're going to do is somehow figure out it's going to work. All right, we're going to take our wet towel again, and we are going to cover this. Okay, now that we have this all covered and sitting here and resting, we have two choices. Do we want to eat this today or eat it tomorrow or 2 days from now? Pizza loves to sit and rest. The yeast works slowly in the dough and it transforms all the dough and makes it into a wonderful thing. You can go too far with that. If you leave this sit here on your counter in a nice warm place, 75, 80 degrees, something like that, you can do this in about 5 hours and you don't have to refrigerate it. If you want to eat this tomorrow, I would take and throw this in the refrigerator right now and take it out about 2 hours before you plan on cooking your pizza. That'll let it warm up a little bit, and do its thing. And then you can start forming and stretching your dough. If you want to set this for a couple of days, you can do it up to really 2 to 3 days. But at some point, the yeast goes too crazy and destroys all the gluten and all the proteins that you made. So if you're going to leave this sit more than, I would say, 2 days, put it in the freezer. Take it out the day before, let it rest in the fridge, and then you're good to go. Do it as if it was 24 hours and then 2 hours before you're going to cook your pizza. take this out of the fridge, leave it on the counter. But yeah, if you're going to put it in the freezer, you have to wrap it super tight in plastic wrap. Otherwise, bad things happen. Don't do that. So if you're going to put it in the freezer, wrap it in plastic wrap, put it in a Ziploc bag, and when it gets to the day before, take it out, put it in a bowl like this, take plastic wrap off, and let it sit so that it can spread and do its thing. Other than that, you know, it's pretty simple. You know, it's just like, you know, super easy. Okay, pizza is not the easiest thing in the world, but you didn't click on this video for easy. Maybe you did, in which case, I apologize. But if you came for delicious, you got the right spot. Our dough has been doing its thing for several hours. It is nice and fluffy and wonderful. This hasn't gone crazy because we're using instant yeast and we use cold water. So it's not completely overgrown. That is actually a good thing working in our favor, because a lot of times when that happens, you get way too much weird stuff in there and it's not good for making pizza. So this is actually pretty good. Also, there's a top and a bottom for this. This is very, very important to keep track of which one's which. This side has a tiny bit of skin on it, and this side is really, really soft. Soft side is going to go down, the skin side is going to go up. That helps keep the sauce or cheese or anything else from penetrating it. That skin helps protect it. But now we're going to do something crazy. Yeah, so we're going to try to keep track. And once you get doing this, there really isn't a great way to tell what you have going on as far as the top and bottom. You have to keep track yourself. All right, stretching a dough. This is kind of a thing. Get your hands in here and just gently do this. You're trying to make a ring around the outside. As you do this, you're just kind of gently maneuvering this a little bit. You don't need to punch down the center of it. It will automatically punch itself down, but we're trying to develop this ring around the outside, and at all costs, never touch that ring. That ring is your crust. That is the wonderfulness. You want this thin on the bottom and crusty around the outside. This is pizza magic. This is technique. And if you master this, you can make any pizza you want. You can do it while looking away. So just keep going and going. If you get a bubble, just kind of pop them out a little bit, because bubbles are not your friend. All right, so we're going to flip this over and work the other side just a smidge. We're going to get some of this flour into it. This actually does help a little bit with the pizza dough at this point. Okay, that is getting pretty nice. Not quite where we need it to be. So we're just going to gently come in here with our hands, and we're just kind of draping this over the back of our knuckles and kind of just massage it a little bit. Don't go crazy, because you'll tear a hole in it. This thing's delicate. And you need to dust the flour off. You just kind of flip it back and forth a little bit. You can see the flour coming off. I'm not great at this, I'll be honest. But extra flour is coming off, and this is looking beautiful. We're going to just give it a little bit more stretch. Now I'm going to put this on this pan just for a minute. This is going to sit and rest for about 10 minutes or so before we start making our pizza. So I'm just going to stretch this out to size here. This is going to rest. This dough is a little bit tight, if I'm being honest. So what you do is you just let it rest. I want this to be roughly the size of this pan, pretty close, and it's not getting there yet. So we're just going to gently coax it. I'll put a towel over the top of it here for a few minutes, and this will keep us, in the game, but it'll let it release a little bit, and then it will flow out better. So we're just going to let this rest, and then we'll finish shaping it. Okay, this is set here for a couple of minutes. It has loosened up, and it's actually grown a little bit on its own because it is getting nice. Now we are going to have to put a little bit more flour on this. We're not cooking it on this pan. This pan is just here for sizing and shaping, basically. We're just using it to our advantage. While we do this, we're going to just do a little bit of that. Hey, what do you know? I'm stretching it already. Look at that. It's getting better and bigger. It's perfect. So just keep working this. Again, don't touch the outer ring. Just stretch it gently. We're trying to stretch this outer ring so that it fits the right size. And a pizza will tell you how big it's going to be. This might not be a 12-inch pizza. I'm thinking it's pretty thin, and this ring is what it is. I think that's the size pizza we're going to get out of it. That just is. And that's okay. We accept it the way it is. Okay, now I have another pizza in the oven right now. That's why I need this thing. Normally you would use a wood peel to put it in and a metal peel to pull it out because they slide off of wood easier, and this gets under it and scrapes it up off the pizza stone better. But small kitchen, one pizza peel. So this is going to sit just for a second. I'm going to cover this again, and then we're going to start assembling our white pizza, because this is, okay, all the rest of this is magic, but how you assemble this is so critical. So I'm going to show you that, and then you're going to be able to make the perfect white pizza. So assembling a white pizza is kind of super important, and everyone sucks at this. Not everyone sucks at this, but so many people don't really fully understand how to assemble a white pizza. We're going to do this a very correct way. We're going to use some ricotta cheese. We got some mozzarella. I have some roasted garlic, some fresh basil. We have our pizza dough here with a nice ring around it. It's going to give you that nice handle to hang on to this. First, we're going to take semolina, and we are going to coat our peel nicely so that our dough moves around and comes off onto our stone, which is in the oven at 550. You do not necessarily have to cook this hot enough because, you know, super hot because of the cheese and stuff. You're not cooking any meats or anything, but you still want the dough to taste good. And the only way to get that really great crispy dough is to do this at high temperature. Now this has some flour on it because we've been stretching it out. So you just kind of want to get in here and take some of that flour off the back. You can see it's on my hands. That's that. Okay, put it on here. We're going to stretch it back out just a smidge to get this to the size we want. It's perfect. I love it. I can't tell you how much I like this dough. It's beautiful. Now we go down with mozzarella. You don't want to put a ton of mozzarella on it, just enough to give it a taste, just the flavor. We don't want this thing to be a cheese pizza. This is a white pizza, not a cheese pizza. Okay, so there is that. Now we have our ricotta. We're going to put quenelles of ricotta on here. This is a fairly dry ricotta. I haven't actually worked with this before because, what do you know, the store was out of the regular stuff. Weird, huh? Okay, so this is, here we go. God help us. So what is a quenelle? You take basically the spoon and you shape back and forth like this, and then you lay in a little bit of ricotta. Normally you do this with like ice creams or different things, but it works great with ricotta. And what we're doing is we're basically setting up like the numbers on a clock sort of thing. We're just laying this out this way as it goes, as our quenelles are on here. That way when you're eating this, you get a lovely bite, but they're not crazy huge. This one's too big. They're not crazy huge because you don't want this to be overpowering. That's the thing, is that you need balance. Everything should be balanced all the time. Think of cooking like a teeter-totter. Don't teeter-totter with a fat kid. We all know what happens. And if you get this out of balance, same thing happens to you. That's not good. And to all the fat kids out there, I feel you. Come on, you're my people. That was a little big. Again, we're trying to balance this and make it just right. A little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, boom. It's going together nicely. We're just scoopy scoop a little bit. There we go. And that is perfect as far as that goes. Now, what goes down? You have got to put, some sort of Parmesan or Romano or a 3-cheese blend. It's perfect. This stuff's already shredded. It's fantastic. We're going to put a little bit of this down because you need that little bit of funk. It is fantastic. You're going to love it. We have our roasted garlic. I just put this in the oven, leave it in the skins, and cook it off in the oven while you're preheating your pizza stone. Just give it a couple minutes. Don't kill it. Don't overcook it. You don't want this to die in there. You just want to give it that lovely roasty flavor. Fresh basil. Can you use dry basil? No. It has to be fresh basil. If you can't find fresh basil, make a different kind of pizza. Seriously though, I've been waiting to make this pizza for 2 weeks because I couldn't find basil. Wintertime is not the optimal time. That's a little bit too much basil. There you go. You just want a little. You want not a ton. Not all in one place. Okay, that's perfect. Now, what's the last thing we need for this? Oiled olive. Olive oil. Just there you go. So, dog was barking. Edit that part out. Olive oil. Just a drizzle across here. Just make like a tic-tac-toe thing. It's perfect. This thing is still moving here. We're going to get this in the oven before it starts to stick. That's a white pizza, folks. If you've never made one before, if you've never had one, that's it. You're going to be amazed what this looks like in about 7 minutes. Let's go. Yep, I did that. That is the perfect white pizza. This isn't massive. The reason for that is it's really decadent. You don't need a ton of this to feed everybody. Everyone's going to eat about 1 slice of this and be like, oh, 2 slices, and you're like, woohoo! So it's perfect. You can feed a number of people with this, and it is so beautiful. It has this wonderful crust. I don't know if you can see underneath here. It's nice. It's got the undercarriage is nice. You're never going to get a perfect undercarriage without an oven that's at 650 or a coal-fired, wood-fired oven, something like that. But for a regular pizza in a regular oven on a pizza stone, this is about as good as you get. You might get a little bit better if you use a pizza steel. I don't have one of those yet, but I will soon. Anyways, we're going to cut this with a pizza knife. You can use a regular knife if you don't have one of these. I'm just using it because I have one, and I'm flexing. They're cool. All right, boom, boom. And that is a perfect slice of white pizza. The undercarriage under there, the little bit, it looks beautiful. She's steamy, she's hot, she's amazing, she's incredible. And I'm gonna dig into this thing in about 2 seconds. But now you know how to make one. So you can be making one of these and leave me a comment about how yours turned out, because I'd love to hear it. Hopefully it turns out as good as this one. If it doesn't, keep trying, keep practicing, because pizza is harder than it should be. It really is. But you can do this. If you keep trying, it'll take a few times maybe, but then you get this. That's it. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate you being here. See you on the next video, and until then, hope you have a great day. Bye.